Alright, so this is a food show segment that I worked on last week. We shot it with 5 cameras, FX9, FX6, FX3, A7s III, FX9 and FX6. We were using Atmos for external dual recording. A7s III was on the gimbal, and we had an FX3 as like a C camera, and a GoPro, but the GoPro didn't end up working for what we were doing. On the next shoot, we're doing another few shoots of this in the kitchen for the show. We'll actually have 2 GoPros, so it will end up being like a 5 or 6 camera shoot in the end, depending on how I set it up and what works on the shoot. Yeah, it was a fun shoot. Good food at the end of the day. I didn't get to eat as much as I would like of it, but I was busy, as you can see, like setting up the equipment. It was a solo setup with like all the stuff. At the middle of the day, I actually had some help from a photographer that I've worked with a few times, Nick. He did a lot of the food photos for the show, and then he did a few things of the behind the scenes for it, which was really helpful, along with running the gimbal throughout the show, which is kind of like a cool dynamic shot. We're able to go back and forth between the presenters and the food and get up close and move around, as we had a bunch of static cameras besides that. We were running the Aperture 120D because we didn't have much space with the Aperture. I think it's like the P60, and then some GVM lights in different places, as one of the presenters has a whole bunch of photography stuff and video stuff that we're using at his location, so that was helpful. We had some natural light too from the windows, which helped, and then some lights that were on in the kitchen. Those were not super great, so they did end up getting shut off at one point. Throughout the day, we pretty much just got everything set, and once everything was set up, we rolled and continuously rolled for both segments. We did queso dip, chicken queso dip, just in time for the Super Bowl. And we also had a segment with tacos, which those are really good. Both the food choices were great. You can't really go wrong with those. As you can see here, we got the whole setup going as the talent was getting all their food stuff prepped. We did end up having a few little technical issues here and there. It seemed that the DJI RS3 gimbal was having problems where it would occasionally overheat, and it was all balanced out and everything like that with a 50mm lens on it that got swapped out for 24. For timing reasons, it was tough to like rebalance it mid-shoot, so I ended up running it with that. It shut off twice on the person who was operating the gimbal. I was able to get it back operational within a few seconds. It didn't end up slowing anything down as we're continuously rolling here, where it would just power down, shoot to the ceiling, but I was able to test it again, and it worked fine after all this with rebalance and charging of the battery. Yeah, this is the city skyline here with the FX6. Just, yeah, a bunch of graffiti at this location too. And then the other thing that I ran into was probably having to switch over to running a lav plus the actual overhead mic, just for, even though we had the 4 shotgun mics, we're running the lavs just for a closer audio, so with less reverb, as we can't sound dampen that room at all. And we had the FX3, which for whatever reason after the latest few firmware updates, it just doesn't work very well with the Sigma 24-70. It was a hard time holding focus. I was using autofocus on some of the cameras, as I was not able to work with them all the time. We did have the eye autofocus, which worked great on the FX6 and FX9. FX3, for whatever reason, just been a little weird. And then, yeah, it was a great shoot. We're going to be doing quite a few more of them, and then throughout the weeks they'll be released. I'm going to just play some of the actual stuff from the shoot at the end here, and just let it roll out, and I'll put a link to the actual video in the description if you want to check it out and you're interested in food shows.